Hello, friends. This is the Legend Fiction Show. We are saying all the right words out the gate. We're for indie fiction authors who want to start and finish their dream novel and have fun doing it. And this past week, Gabby, I've been doubling down and trying to focus more on the idea of how to make. Um, it's the idea that writing is fun. Writing is like a game, right? In fact, writing
Mhm.
is like the biggest open world game ever invented. That's what fiction is. And I thought that's such a fun way to think about it.
That is. I've been having
Alrighty.
to get into that too because I've turned it into like such a business mindset, like I gotta hit this by this deadline and it needs to be at this quality before this point in time. And just reevaluating that and like, look, slow down and have some fun with it. Like, just enjoy it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. I'm just realizing, yeah, I need to completely update the title because it did not pay attention to what I gave it at all. So
Uh-oh.
this is create unique character voices. Character voices with Gabi Batel. And was guests are Declan, Finn, and Karina Fabian.
Oh,
Hopefully we'll
nice.
be able to get all of that in today. Karina is moving, and she's apparently right in the middle of a move.
Ooh, man, that's
So
a
hopefully she
lot.
will still be able to jump on. She said she forgot or something. So we'll see. Should be fun. She said it'll add to the zaniness, craziness, or something. All right, we've got a new thumbnail uploaded. Character voices. What have you been working on? Watched anything? Writing anything interesting lately?
Let me think. Okay, watching mostly I've been watching Death in Paradise. Death in Paradise is just it's so much fun, and I think
Death
it's a
of
great
or Death in? I've not
Death
heard of that one.
in
Okay.
Death in Paradise. It's a cozy murder mystery series set on this little island called San Marie that's, like, fake, but it's tiny, tiny little island in the Caribbean. It's so much fun, and it's such a good, like, character study because you have so many, like, different characters all the time who all feel distinct, but also all really lovely kind of a thing. It's like
Hmm.
yeah, so it's really good with the character workings. And then what I've been writing, I did a couple things. One was I wrote like a chapter of a novella based, like a prequel novella for these books.
Hmm.
The fun little secret is that when you're reading it, unless you have that context, you might not know that it's a prequel novella to these until you get to the end and you're like, wait a minute, has this been about these two the whole time?
I
Um,
see.
I wrote some of that. I've been working really hard on ending because that's what I was talking about with the deadlines and everything. It's gotta be,
Yeah.
up and published in 1 month, yay me. Uh,
Nice.
and I'm just still working on some of the stuff that my editor, sent me, the awesome stuff that the editor sent me, just, like, just finishing it up, working through it.
Hmm.
And then I wrote a little bit of I forget what it's called, the spring short story contest.
Oh, you did? Oh,
Um,
cool. What do we
yeah, I
call it?
don't think I'm
Flower
gonna
spell.
flower spell, that's what it is. I don't think I'm gonna be able to enter it because of said deadline, but it was fun to, like, just, cut loose and write
Hmm.
3,000 words. Was it 3,000? No,
Well, that sounds
1,000?
long enough to throw it in for funsies.
No, it's not even close to being finished. Like, I wrote the verse.
Oh,
That's why
okay.
I corrected myself. I don't think it was 3,000. It might have been, I don't know, 1,000? Something like that. So, like, if I get lucky, maybe I'll be able to put it in, but if not, I don't know. It's the ending is kind of like taking my soul right now.
Hmm.
So that's mostly it.
Yeah, I hear that. Well, it's been kind of cool. I've been trying to, I don't like waiting for like anything. If like something's cool or something's done, I just want to ship everything. And it's
Yeah.
probably why people just tune me out, don't pay attention because it's just stuff shipping all the time and you have no time to actually sit with it and ingest it. So I tried to be a good boy and give some time, like 3 days before shipping the next thing. So we shipped the Grim Winter ebook or book
Yes,
is
that
now
was
done.
exciting.
So cool to see that finally up. That one's had misadventures all over the place, but
Mhm.
I learned a lot anyway in sort of how to run these, um, uh, collections of short stories and how to publish authors and
Yeah.
all of that. And then we also finished our flash fiction challenge, Glimmerwood, for this season, and so that's also now out, and anybody who goes and signs up,
Nice.
friends, if you hit the link in the description, legendfiction.com/gift, we have a collection of free ebooks. And what I've done is built a like an ebook reader so that you can not only just download the ebooks, any of the ones that we give away for free, but you can also just open them right then and there and then just skim through them and read them
Oh, that's
right on the
cool.
page. And I wanted that because I didn't want to have to pay for another tool that's like, hey, $5 a month, $10 a month for like a tool. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly. It's like, "No,
I
I
could
just
build
wanna
something
read my
free. I could go
ebook."
use Claude and build my own free tool. And then so I not only
Wow.
built it, it's also available now as a free tool on the website where anybody, if you create your own ebook or a PDF that you want people to read, you can just upload it to that tool, get the export code, and put it on your own website. And you don't have to pay for anything.
Wow, what's it called?
Um, e-reader library or something. You go to
Oh, okay.
legendfiction.com, hit the freebies, and there's like this growing bank of like free research and resources and quizzes and apps and tools to help authors. And it's all free, so just use it.
That's awesome.
Um, all right, we need to get into it because you've got till I think you said 10:40 my time,
Yeah.
so that's about a half hour from now. All right,
Little
cool.
bit of leeway there, but not super much leeway.
Well, I'll try to get you home on time. So let's talk about unique character voices. Um, So for those who don't know, Gabby and I, a little more Gabby than me, but we run the creative writing school at Legend Fiction. And you know what? I've actually got a very nifty little ad. I'm just going to run it very briefly and we'll be right back. So if you've got a
Wow.
teenager who writes, maybe you know of one, and I mean like actually writes, not just talks about writing, okay? This one's for them. The Legend Fiction Creative Writing School works as high school credit. It's part of a homeschool program. You can use it that way. It's 12 lessons. You get 3 lessons a month. And at the end of the program, they've finished their novel, an actual novel with their name on it. Gabby, who's your teacher, she meets every student at the start of the program, and then she builds the year around the book that they want to write. She checks in every month, and she reads a sample of their writing every single week. So we keep the school small so that it's actually possible. And it's taught by people who take faith and dragons equally seriously so that nobody's going to treat their world building as if it's something to grow out of, but something to take more seriously and get into. Have a look at legendfiction.com. Right now, this program is only $99 a month, and that fee is going to go up in the future. You can check it out, start a 30-day free trial. Send us a message anytime. We'd love to hear from you. There we go. So
That
that's
was
a
awesome.
handy little overview. I got a couple of those in the can, so that's fun. So let's talk
Nice.
about unique writing voices. So we're just going to record one of the lessons right now for the school. Hi, friends, and welcome back to the Creative Writing School. I'm your host, Dominic, joined by Gabi Batel, your teacher. Hi, Gabby. Welcome back.
Hi, thank you.
As you can tell, each of us have our own unique approach to talking about stuff. I'm routinely trying to sound gravelly and epic and throw as many movie references as I can at things, and Gabby is trying to sound, because she is smart and erudite and practical and of course, Hunger Games
Yes.
quotes, just like
Always the
constantly.
Hunger
There you
Games.
go. There you go. So let's talk about character voices and why it's important to try to figure it out as soon as you can, as you're crafting your story. Over to you, Gabby. Why is that important?
Wow, sorry, I just drew a sudden blank. Yeah,
Ooh, hot seat.
erudite, practical, very smart, and then she just, like, blanks. Sorry. Okay, we want the characters to sound different because they are different. They're behaving differently, they have different personalities, they act differently and make different choices, and so the speech should then just follow from that. Now, we've been talking about dialogue the past couple weeks and how it can be a tricky little blighter, and one of the ways that it can be tricky is
Mhm,
that you come to a character who all the characters are very diverse. Again, they act differently. They're all their own unique character. You can tell the differences between who they are. They don't seem like the same cardboard cutout character, and then they speak, and it's sounds the same. And all of a sudden, you're taken out of the story because you're like, wait, why is this person saying it this way? Because you intuitively, as the reader, know that based on this person's personality, where they're from, where they grew up, all
mhm.
of that combined together, that's not what they would say.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
problem with dialogue, the wonderful problem with dialogue is that we as people are so in tune with how people talk that when something breaks that, it's very jarring. And so
Mhm,
we've been discussing the past 2 weeks about ways that we can make it not jarring. We can make it fluid and smooth and have it draw the reader deeper into the story. And now we're going to talk about different voices for each character, which not only helps solidify who the characters are and solidify the reader's experience in the story by not taking them out of it, but then it can also just have the practical purpose of making it really, really easy to designate who is talking all the time.
Yeah, yeah. There was a book that I started reading. I saw it referenced on Instagram and I thought, "Ooh, Warrior Mice. This is gonna be fun. Let me go check it out." Oh, and it's dark and gritty like Game of Thrones. Sign me up times 2, and I got into
Did you
it.
say warrior mice and it's dark and gritty like Game of Thrones?
Yeah,
I
and I
love
thought,
that.
"That sounds incredible. I want this." And I started reading it and I got 2 chapters in, I threw my Kindle at the wall. It was so bad. I mean, I don't know how why the guy's successful, but apparently he is, but I couldn't stand it. And one of the reasons why was the the way that it was written, character voices. Um, the author was, I think, very much a beginner, and this is something that we all do, is the author thinks that how they write and the way that they craft the narrative, all of that is the voice, right? And so you're confusing your own voice with the voices of your characters. And something that I think we do, and it's a very normal thing to do as beginners, is as you start writing, you copy the voices of the people that you know and love. And that's one of the things that absolutely frustrated me about this book. The first chapter just felt clunky and the voices felt like very, very self-aware. Okay. And then the second chapter was of a completely different character, and it sounded like it was trying to be Hugh Lofting or some Victorian author, right?
Oh.
Who or A. A. Milne, where it's sort of cozy and funny and self-reflective and he's slitting throats. And I'm like, this doesn't fit.
Mm-mm.
There's just a disconnect, and
Mhm.
you can tell when somebody is they can hear it in their mind, okay? It's like, "I'm an author. I'm
Uh-huh.
doing authory things." Um, when they talk about murdering your darlings, that's what they're talking about.
Yep.
You're darlinging yourself about, "Oh, I just did an author thing." And it's like, that needs to die. Focus on doing your job, which is telling a great story, and, if it's if the narrator themselves has a voice, be consistent with it because that can be a very cool part of a story. Um, but the characters themselves voice, and this is what we're let's get right into this, how people don't all sound the same, and if you're especially if you're like a homeschooler, you're probably raised on a lot of classics, and so you're going to start channeling your inner Jane Austen to put it on the page, and then you end up sounding very ostentatious and you try to sound very epic in lots of old big words, and then you get to the end, you're like, man, I just wrote like my heroes. And you're like, yeah, but is the story any better for it? As
Mhm.
opposed to if you just use the simplest words possible to create the experience, to get people in so that they don't see you, the author. They only see the story, like the movie just playing out in their heads. And so one of the ways that you create instant, you know, I'm going to create a new word, uh, drawing inability, immersion, excuse me, immersion into a story is through voices because we show up to watch people talk to each other, argue with each other, struggle with each other. Seeing lots of dialogue is gonna it's often a mark of or an indicator we're gonna have fun here, because people talking means people, and people don't agree. People struggle. People need to network and figure out and negotiate. So if it all sounds the same, it gets really confusing. And I'll punt it over to you with this last thought. There is a retelling, or no, it's actually the Peter Pan story. And there's one moment where he's arguing with Captain Hook and Skull Rock. And there would be one moment where they would argue and they would just drop the dialogue tags and drop the descriptors, and it would just be back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And it would go down the page. It was meant to be very funny. My problem was I would forget who it is by the time I get to line 12, and I would have to start at the top and just recount, okay, who
Count.
said this? And at that point, I've lost the point of the fun of the thing, right? It's because Peter Pan is aping Captain Hook. And so their voices are copying each other, and then you lose what you're doing, right? And you don't want to do that to your readers. It works well when you read aloud, obviously. So, how do you avoid these kinds of problems? What are some of the things that you go to, Gabby, to keep things clear and fun and immersive? What comes to your mind?
Yeah, the first thing that I want to touch on is what you just said about you it's harder to be able to designate tone and inflection and all that kind of stuff when it's on a piece of paper. Because I have readers or excuse
Oh,
me,
and
I
you
have
can't use emoji.
right, no emojis, exactly right. So I have students sometimes who will come to me and they're like, I wrote this super emotional scene. Do you want to listen to it? And I'm like, yes, absolutely. Let me listen to it. And they start reading their story. And they are so excited about it and they're in the moment and they are voice acting for it. And it's so great because they're almost in tears and their throat is trembling and it's like it's wonderful and I'm like, "Okay, all you prove to me is that you are a very good voice actor." Those words take all the inflection out. If you were to have like an AI bot read it and like one of the bad AI bots, right? You know, like the ones that like are on the voicemail, 7 2 if
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
would I still be able to feel the same emotion? So you have to remember, look at the words on the page, right? What is going to come across there, you know? Because a lot of what makes someone's voice and personality in real life is regrettably and wonderfully our tone, our inflection,
Mhm.
our facial expressions, that kind of a thing. Even sometimes the way we pronounce a certain word. All of that together makes our voice in the real world. Well, we don't have that in the book. So, what we want to do is we want to focus really hard on the aspects that we do have so that those pieces of the dialogue really shine through. They give the emotion, they give the voice that we're going for. And then, based on that stuff, we can easily distinguish the characters. We can think about, okay, what would the person say? What wouldn't the person say? And we're actually about to get into all of that. So, the first thing is, like I just said, remember, the reader cannot hear what you're hearing in your head. So, you have to actually take a look at the bare, cold words on the page and see what they actually do and what they actually say. And because of that, you have to think very hard about what you're including. One of those things that you're gonna include is going to always be, um, body language. You're gonna do body language. I was about to say facial expressions, but not really because facial expressions can be very hard to describe in a book because there are not a lot of words to describe facial expressions. You could go with the classics, eyes widen, lifted an eyebrow, those things that like start to get cliche if you use them too
Mhm,
much.
mhm. Hooked her
Um,
hair behind her ear.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. And I'm like, nobody does that. And then the other thing that you can get away with is if, you're giving a look that says, or a look that seemed like, or whatever the case may be. That is a pretty fun tool that you can get away with using, not all the time, but more often,
Mhm.
because we kind of know what that look is in our head. I was recently writing Ending and I said that the sister, they're holding these little like they're at a formal event and they're holding these little cakes that literally all of them hate. They're disgusting and like full of marzipan and like candied lemon and injected with sugared milk and stuff. So it's just
Well,
this
would you
nasty ball
stop
of sugar.
selling me on them? Like, they sound awesome.
Seriously? Ooh,
Yeah.
I would die of just like sugar, whatever that
Okay, well,
is.
yeah, fine, alright, too
I
much
would die of
sugar,
a
but the
sugar
flavors
overdose.
sound good. Yeah, almond and lemon. Yeah, anyway, keep going.
But like yes, almond and lemon, but like fondant and again injected with condensed milk and like stuff. I don't know. It doesn't sound
Okay,
good to me.
sugar
And
crash.
and
Alright.
see, there you go. There you go. Two different voices, two different personalities. You always knew exactly who was talking. So these characters don't like this cake.
Mm.
But they're at a formal event, and so the sister looks over and she just gives a look that says, "Be polite and eat it." Well, I can't really describe in words what that looks like, but based on the context, based on what she's saying and what the character is interpreting it as, you can kind of picture that face. So that's how you can do facial expressions in a limited way. Now, you can do tone a little bit, but just barely, because you can sometimes get away with doing something similar like the look, as in they say the words and then you never want to say the word in the tone because that's very explanatory, it's very expository and it takes the reader out. But you can say something like, she said XYZ as if and then you describe something contrasting. So like she said, "I love you," as if she wanted to strangle you right now, kind of a thing. So, if you
Right.
use that contrast, you can use it to get across tone. That works less often, but you can use it if you're careful with it, if you're choosy with when
As
you use
opposed
it.
to, like, using an ly word, right? Like an adverb.
Yes.
So that's kind of what you're saying?
Yes, because you don't want to. Because if you use an ly word, like, for example, "I hate you," she said angrily, that's redundant, is saying that she hates you. That kind of gives across the impression to me that she's angry, and you don't
Right.
want to add those excuse me, goodness. And you don't want to add those redundant words. So you're just going to want to stick with the next thing that we're going to talk about, which is the biggest part, I would say, one of the two biggest parts of designating character voice is actually just selecting the words that the character is going to use. And then, hand in hand with that, how they are going to use that word, those words, in a phrase, how they're going to parse it, how they're going to phrase it themselves. So, for example, in my books, we have 4 different characters, or well, we have more than that, but we have a bunch of different characters who speak very, very differently. We have the main character, Peyton, who is very level-headed. She just kind of speaks, I don't wanna say clinically, but she just speaks, "Okay, these are the facts. This is what I'm thinking. This is the logic." And everything that she says follows that. So the words that she says, they're not overly intellectual, so she's not gonna come up with some, like, four-syllable word when she can use a normal one-syllable word. She's just gonna get the point across. She's gonna use full sentences. She's not gonna, like, splurge on any extra words. It's just that sentence. Now, there's her adoptive sister, Mercedes, who's just kind of like a spitfire on flaming wheels. She is a whole lot more likely to use more cutting words. So, not just the basic word to get the job done. Everything is going to be a very emphatic, cutting word. She might drop certain words in just to get her point across faster, or she might elaborate on some other sentences just to because she's not quite babbling. She's not babbling or rambling, but she's excited. You can feel that she's excited, she's passionate, she's feeling whatever she's about to say, and so the sentences are going to be longer. So that's what you need to think about. And I wish that I could give you a nice list, and maybe somewhere someone has made like a chart of, this piece of speech indicates this. The longer sentences indicates that someone's really excited about something, or that they're self-important, or that they're, and do you see how I just said or? That's why it's a little bit difficult to make a chart like that to give you an exact one to one. Okay, this means this,
Mhm.
that means that. Because, yes, there are some indicators that usually imply a piece of a person's personality, but depending on how they are framed, depending on how on the context, part of the context being the person's personality that you know from the rest of the book, those things can change their meaning. Do the long
Mhm.
sentences mean that someone is rambling and really shy and nervous? Do the
Mhm.
long sentences mean that the person is really excited and passionate? Or do the long sentences mean that the person is very full of themselves and they just like the sound of their own voice? You wouldn't be able to tell that alone from just me having described long sentences. So if you
Mhm.
were to come to me and say, "Hey, uh, what kind of what kind of speech do you think this person would use?" I wouldn't be able to tell you that off the bat
Mhm.
because you, as the writer, and then the reader, as the audience, is going to know what sounds right based on feel,
Mhm.
based on your experience as a person,
Yeah.
that kind of a thing.
I've seen advice in the past, that I've tried to internalize, and it's pretty fun. And it's like if you were to have all of your characters speaking and you switch the lights off, and then if you
Mhm.
write their lines of dialogue, would you be able to tell who was who by how it's written? And so that's
Exactly right.
one fun kind of mental thing to mess around with and sort of add to your kit. But kind of what you were saying is something I was thinking of, which is when we're creating unique character voices, I think we forget sometimes it's not just the fact that what is said on the page. Um, it's about how what is said communicates the character. So if you take, let's say you put each of your characters in a lineup and you decide this one is the boring one, this is the exciting or excitable one, this one is it's cynical. This one is whatever. So if you can sort of pick one, each character creates a specific emotional tone, and then
Mhm.
you wanna try to consistently stay within that, especially if you're like a side character, more often than not, you're going to contribute one of those vibes to the book. The main character might be, their own. But if you're trying to create these unique voices, okay, it's not just the fact that there are words on page and you're trying to string them in a specific way to sound like a particular person, it's that anybody talks communicates the tone or of their personality, who they are. And I think a fun case in point is something like which is an extreme example. There's a movie called Sisu. Okay, and I think it's made in the Netherlands. There's 2 movies now. They are so dead proud of this epic action series, very violent. He says nothing throughout the entire movie. It's an action movie, and he says nothing. He does not communicate. And his voice throughout the whole thing is so incredibly strong. You get to the end, you're like, "I know this guy. I would trust this guy. I like this guy." And it's hilarious. No words were used at all. And so I think when you're, again, creating a character voice, it's not just what is said, it's how it is said. If you have a character, every time you ask them a question, they pause and they always start by answering something else. Well, what does that tell you? Not just about how they say something or what they say, but how they say it. It means that they're always thinking of something else. They're routinely maybe avoiding what you're saying or, what if every time you go to ask, let's take the excitable person, like you sort of said, every time you ask someone to do something, they just go, well, that's boring. And maybe that's how they start everything. Well, that's boring. It's not just like, oh, it's a little sort of tick that I can include in the lines that indicate difference. It's like, no, that's actually indicating the character, the personality. And I think this is one of my frustrations with a lot of movies made with hot young teens for all of the rest of the teens who are out there. All of the characters and all the voices are so completely interchangeable as you're either reading them or watching them on TV. Like they all sound exactly like each other. She's
Mhm.
trying to date like 2 guys he's just dark and he's blonde, and they sound exactly the same, and they're both equally annoying. They
You've been
both
watching The Summer I Turned Pretty.
Nope. I'm just thinking of, like, I don't even remember the names of these shows, but it's like, I used to watch Arrow. I get so frustrated at watching that Arrow series, and it's like, whatever, that's another thing. Um, so what I'm trying to get at is each character that you introduce into a story introduces something unique to that story, ideally. Otherwise, you wouldn't bring them in or you kill them off early. Every time that they talk, that should also be an indication, or it's like trying to reveal who they are. You don't want, I mean, you can do whatever you want. Obviously, you're an author. These are our recommendations. If you have an intelligent, erudite figure where being intelligent and erudite matters to him, he's never going to really answer short, quick questions unless it's his personality to be grumpy because he doesn't want to share that, he wants to be hidden away. Well,
Mhm.
that's okay, we got Victor in the chat, this is awesome. How you say something, as important as what you say it is, okay?
Exactly
Funny thing
right.
with Yoda's a funny example
Mhm.
because literally how he talks is very, very unique, and so that's one way that you can go. But more importantly, Yoda thinks more deeply about anything that you say to him, and he's always trying to answer the deeper question. Again, that's such an interesting way to reveal his character. Um, he's never it's like in a character like that, he's never going to straight up say yes or no or answer your question. He's always gonna go, "Hmm, but why matters to you does this?" or something, right? So, voice isn't just how the sequence of stitching words on a page, it's how do you every time a character talks, how do you keep reinforcing the vibe of the character and to make it unique? That's why
Think
Psych is such a fun series because every character is so brilliantly unique. Over to
I
you.
think
Go
Oh, go
ahead.
ahead. I was just gonna say I think you hit the nail right on the head, and not only is it about just the words that they're saying on the page versus how they're saying it, but then there's also what are the thoughts that they would actually articulate? That's another great thing to think about. Have you ever had a character and they say something and you're like, they would never say that. Why would they actually say those things? Like, if you imagine, like, the very, like, kind of hard, curmudgeonly type of character who, like, he's just starting to, like, crack out of his shell. I'm thinking of, Kaz Brekker from the Six of Crows.
Mhm.
It's like if he came out at the end and did, like, this full poetic love confession, even though he's done the work to get there, because like, he actually has, like, changed, he's done the things, he's become a better character, he's opened up, become vulnerable, he realizes he's in love. It just wouldn't make sense for this dude specifically to make a love confession. Instead, he spends all of his money because money has been the most important thing to him the whole time. He spends all of his money and he finds the girl of his dreams, the parents that she lost 20 years ago or 15 years ago, and he buys her a boat so that she can go like protect other trafficked people. That is what Kazbrecker would say. Now, does he wind up not saying anything? Yeah, he doesn't speak. He doesn't say, "I love you." He just does that thing. And so it's a good idea to think about, okay, would this person actually open their mouth in the first place here? You know, I have a couple of characters in my book, don't, Tristan and Luis. Now, Tristan is just very, very shy. He's just shy and pensive and like kind of he's competent, but he doesn't think he is. He's just very worried and would rather just kind of sit and observe. And then there's Luis, who has just learned to be very, very guarded. You know, everything has to have a purpose because, you know, in his past, he didn't have a lot of wiggle room. You know, there was very much a you need to make a point with what you say. You need to be a man with everything that you're doing, and that's it. There's no wiggle room there. And so neither of them speak as much. They speak, but they're very quiet people. They're more likely to respond to you by not responding, you
Mm.
know?
Got a really good question Vic just dropped in the chat that I think affects this. How different do you think internal monologue can or should be from what the characters say out loud?
Excellent, excellent question. I would say that internal monologue can have a little bit more of
Honesty.
yes, it could have a little bit more honesty. You can say more things. If you remember me 2 episodes ago when we were talking about don't ever put an explanatory, expository, overt, articulate emotion
Yeah.
speech in
Mhm.
dialogue, and I said, if you have to make that sentence, just take it out of quotes and put it in the person's head. I think
Mhm.
that's where you can have the leeway about how much the character is actually saying.
Mhm.
But I think the way in which it should be said would be very
Well,
the same.
I think it was the previous episode, right? We talked about there's the 3 versions of you,
Yeah.
and that's really helpful to also incorporate this into your characters. There's the public version of you that you share with everybody. There's the version of you that you share with your friends, and then there's the deep version of you that you haven't basically shared with anybody probably ever, never. And that's the deep so the internal one monologuing is gonna be that one. And so then to the question, what you say inside your head may sort of want to come out or try to come out, but depending on whether you're with your friends, you're going to say it one way. And if you're with somebody you dislike or don't know or don't trust or are trying to get something from or trying to build rapport with, all of those indications are going to filter how you say something. You can still maintain a strong voice, but how authentic or honest or straight you're going to be compared to what you think in your head, um, I would say pay attention to how we function as people. We do this all the time. We're constantly filtering or gating ourselves, and that's a good thing to do. By the way, it's like people go, "I'm just gonna be my authentic self, and I just say it like I see it," and I'm like, No, you're just a jackass. You have to learn to what a good human does is you modulate what you think and what you say according to the right
Yeah.
situation that you're in." Anyhow, so you got a cool list of things. We got a few minutes, maybe. Do you want to anything else that you want to barrel through in your
Yes.
helpful list to leave us with?
Yeah, I think we got through most of it because we talked about, you could think about the actual words they would use. I remember one time Luis, who is the very like he's tight with his words and he's very like curt with his words. I said something about he was gonna he was basically monologuing and he was like, "I am going to thrive in this situation." I'm like, "This kid would never use the word thrive." It just
Yeah.
would not. So we talked about the vocabulary, talked about the phrasings and how it's gonna be put together. You know, someone maybe uses more slang. You don't wanna overdo the slang. You don't want to overdo, certainly you don't wanna overdo, like, cliches and idioms and stuff like that. You want the character, even if they seem like the kind of person who would use a whole lot of idioms or something like that, it That, believe it or not, for some reason I can't quite designate, it does wind up taking the reader out of the story, possibly because it's just something so kind of casual and offhand and familiar that it doesn't feel like a story, it just feels like something easily pulled. So you do want to avoid that. Um, hmm,
Well,
okay.
you like, you've
So
got here, like, how go ahead. That sounds like you found something.
yeah, so I think we can wrap up with 2 final things. The one thing that I do want to let you guys know and be aware of is that as I'm talking about, we're talking about the different voices and how each one should sound different, and if you're in a room and the lights are off, the characters should still be distinct. I should be able to know who's talking, right? That's very true. The one thing I don't want you to do is to then cross over that line to where it's gimmicky. You
Mhm,
don't want them to be, like, so quirkily dialed up to 10 this caricature of a personality in the way that they talk that then it winds up not sounding like a person again. So first and foremost, make them sound like a person, and then as you're drilling in and getting to know them better, make them sound like they're individual persons, but always first and foremost make them sound like a person. And then some more things that you can think about is, what is the situation, not just in that particular context for that scene, but of the time, of the area? How do the people around them talk? Because you do want a certain amount of consistency across the book,
mhm.
unless you're doing some kind of like comedy something. But, like, for example, you don't want one person to talk kinda like they came out of an area with a lot of gangs, and then the other person literally talks like they're straight out of a Victorian novel, like,
Mhm,
they don't talk the way that we talk now. You do want a certain amount of consistency because these people are probably at least some in some way, they're in the same time period at minimum because they're all together. Probably they're in the same general, area of the world, or at
mhm,
least they know how to communicate with people of the same general area of the world, that kind of a thing. So
mhm.
think about, okay, what's the time period? If you're writing a historical novel, people are going to talk a little bit more formally. They're going to use some different words than we would use now. You're not going to use modern slang or modern phrasings. Um, and vice versa. If someone's now, they're probably not gonna talk really old-timey. They're not gonna
Mhm.
talk like they would in those classics, which is a big thing that I see, in a lot of students is that it's modern, but they talk old.
Mhm.
They talk like, as if it's a more classic novel, and so you want to avoid that, again, for the consistency, for the gelling of the whole story, and for the world building, for the character building, because remember, these people, they are part of the world that makes them. They are made by their world, and so that's going to impact how they talk. Um
Briefly on that, as an example, like I just finished watching the new season of House of the Dragon, and one of the things that I love about how they structure it is that it's got hints of old-timey language because it's sort of a medieval fantasy world, and they don't sound completely modern, but they also don't sound completely medieval, like it was written by, Chaucer or the 15th century or something. There's a lot of it's a very more modern way of speaking, but it's
Mhm,
also structured, to keep sort of gently reminding you, like, it's not full on Shakespeare, but it's like a little bit.
mhm,
And I think that's a very smart way to go because we've run a couple of contests, where we just ask people, write things set in older worlds and whatever. And so they decided to channel a full on Shakespeare and Hamlet. And it's like, I love you. This is unreadable. Um, uh, you're trying to be authentic to the time period. And then I think you have to realize one of two things. One, you're either trying with your book to create something that is completely historically accurate. uh, just be honest, most people aren't going to read that. That's a particular audience who wants that is probably not who you think is gonna buy it. And the other one is with your if you're crafting something for a particular audience, kinda have to create something that
cater them
that
a little
audience is
bit.
going to want to keep reading. If you keep introducing them to something that is going to routinely break them out of the ability to enjoy it because you're trying to be authentic or, realistic or whatever, they're not gonna finish reading. So there's a little thing you just keep in your mind. What is an author in, like, every era? You're in a process of translation, and you're kind of in negotiation with what is sort of trending right now, how do we talk right now, and how can we allow our characters to incorporate a little bit of that, maybe the best and not like the dumbest ways of talking, but what are some of the better ways of talking that is acceptable, um, to try to get the point across? Because if, most people watching most shows today are not watching Pride and Prejudice. They can't get into that language at all. It's a very deep cult following who love Pride and Prejudice because they are trained in that way of talking. So again, I think we've talked about this in a previous episode. I'm not saying you should never, you know, write above your reading group. That's not kind of what I'm saying. Just um for example, swear words, right? And how people get mad, very different in the past versus now.
Yeah.
Um, it is where do I want to go with this? You might sort of trim this out, and I don't want to get too much longer into this. It can feel weird, partly because our audience doesn't understand how older generations used to think. And so if you try to be completely like an you know, uh, older generation type of person with no bridge to how modern people think, they probably won't continue reading the book because they can't get into it, can't understand it. So you find a little bit of an overlap where modern ways of expressing something can be emotionally true to what they're experiencing in the past. And so we see a lot of really trending sort of modern movies uh, mastering that or trying to play with that to keep you watching so that you can understand what they're going through without losing the cultural difference of that older, time period. That's maybe a more meta kind of messy thing. Again, House of the Dragon has done this really well, where the
Mhm,
characters, the way they talk, it's very intentional. Um, and you can still listen to it easily as a modern,
mhm.
but nobody talks that way today. And it's
Yes.
really cool. And it reinforces the fact that we're in a different world. That was a bit out of left field. Any
No,
closing
that was
thoughts you want to
excellent.
leave?
I think you did an excellent job explaining that.
No, you're very nice. Yeah, as
I
Vic says, we don't tear our clothes in anguish anymore. I know, it's like, clothes are
That would
nice
be
these
so
days.
funny if someone just did that. If someone did that now, I would lose my mind.
Yeah. Okay, any closing thoughts that we wanna leave with, to wrap this up?
Sure. So the last thing that I just want to leave you with is remember, it's actually what you were just saying. Your job as the writer is to make a story that is getting the point across clearly and without jarring the reader. Now, part of being clear is making those different personalities. Part of not jarring the reader is making those different personalities, right? Because the reader is expecting differences in people and the people that they've come to expect through the rest of your great story, right? But as your job is first and foremost just to make a good story, don't agonize so much over am I doing it right? Because then that's kind of going to spill over into your writing and it's going to feel like you were wondering, am I getting this right to the reader? So just know your characters, think about how they would talk. You can even use like a model sometimes. Like, okay, my character would probably talk like, I'm trying to think of somebody. I don't know, Dakota Fanning. Pick someone. My character probably would talk kind of similar to Dakota Fanning. You can use that as a baseline, or my mom, or that guy across the street, the neighbor, whatever the case may be. Think about those people, because again, your characters are people. Think about them, see if you can kind of loosely model it after them, get a feel for
Or
what
just
your
straight
character.
up rip them off, like, just
Yeah,
don't tell them, just
exactly. Just
straight up
record.
rip it off, like, how would
Hide it
they say this,
hide a tape recorder. Exactly right. So use that as people, use the people to model your people after, and just listen to the way as you're living life. Because remember, an author has to like get out in the real world and just be a person first before you can actually be a good author. So you being a person, just pay some attention to like, oh, okay, this person is really excited. They started talking really fast. Well, I can't show that they're talking really fast. In the actual dialogue itself, but maybe I can lose some periods and switch them out for commas. Even though you're not supposed to do that, it shows that they're talking faster. Or maybe they're using more words because if they're talking faster, it's because they're trying to get a whole bunch of words into one little bit
Yeah.
of space. That kind of a thing. So just
Dialogue
pay
is where you can
attention.
get messier and play a little looser, in trying to
Exactly right.
capture if somebody is messy and loose in how they talk versus somebody who's, like,
Very
very straight,
straight laced.
Yeah. Yeah, the
Exactly right.
mechanics of how you stitch words together can do a lot of it, but then it's also what they say when they choose to say it. Says a lot too.
Exactly. And how they choose to approach what they are trying to say.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
all of that combined seems like a lot, and it kind of can be a lot, but just know that you have it intuitively just as a
Yeah.
person because you interact with people. So focus on that intuition. Be okay with like seeking out advice and feedback from others. Be okay with revising. You can always come back later and hone it a little bit more because, again, your goal as the writer is just to write something smooth that's not going to take the readers out of it. So don't get overwhelmed. Just remember, you're a person who talks, and so go ahead and make your characters people who talk.
There you go. Study people, take notes from this conversation. The more important part is write down the parts that you like and just forget the rest, and then play
Yes.
with the parts that you like and you remember, and then in a while maybe come back, check to see if there's any others. Um, Fantastic. Okay. Oh, we got a cool
Yes.
comment from Victor. These interviews are great sources of different ways people talk. That's fantastic. I'm glad they're helpful. Okay. Thanks for all the extra time, Gabby. It was cool to have you with us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Have a fantastic, yeah, fantastic work day, safe driving, and we'll have you back hopefully next week.
Thank you. Talk then.
Alrighty. Cheers.
Bye bye.
All right, friends, we got about a couple of minutes before our next guest is jumping on. We have Declan Finn, so that's going to be fun. We've had him, I think we've had him a couple of times on the channel now because he was part of our Legend Fiction, Legend Haven events. So he's a pretty fantastic author. So we're going to talk about things like Christian fantasy, and how to write that without preaching. I think he's somebody who has named it, nailed it. He hosts a Catholic geek radio show, and he loves writing Catholic infused urban fantasy, horror thrillers, and sci-fi. So I think that's going to be fun. He'll be on in what time are we at? 10:52. A couple of minutes. So we'll be back right after a very brief break, and I'm going to share with you something that I just built this past week. So let me run this. Here's the thing I didn't expect in Legend Fiction. The writers are tripling their output, and almost none of them are doing it just because it's like hard discipline. They're doing it because we've made it into a game. So you see, we run tournaments, you get paired with other authors, and you try to outwrite each other. We have 30-day challenges. We have read alouds where you have to have something to read, so you write something to read. Nobody's just grinding, right? We're having so much fun that writing is all you want to think about doing. I think that's the whole trick, right? Discipline kind of runs out around week 2 of any new habit. Fun doesn't. So if you've got a novel and you've been stuck at chapter 5 for 3 years, more willpower probably isn't going to move it. Now, someone racing you to a finish line, now that might. So it's only $10 a month. Start a 30-day free trial. Go to legendfiction.com. Get your writing in. Get your writing done. That's fun. Let me share with you a project that I worked on this week. So something I've been having fun doing. Let me see if I can share my screen. I'm building for myself basically all the little tools that I wish I had. Oops, let me scroll back up. And I discovered that, man, I can actually create little tools that are helpful to other people. Like this is going to be awesome. So I get to build tools that solve my problems, and then I'm going and sharing them with other people so that they can enjoy them too. So if you go to legendfiction.com and you hit freebies, okay, there's a couple of quizzes that are created. If you hit them, they will take you to a little page, and you can take the quiz and figure out, for example, with your chronotype, we've talked about this a couple of times on the channel, you can find out when you're supposed to write and when not. And we've got some additional resources down here that you can check out. But here's the part that's fun. I've created things like a scheduling sort of tool to find out when your novel is going to be finished. We've got like a writing tracker, which is fun. Gosh, I've been working on a bunch. Let me share with you. This is one that I think is extremely helpful and possibly interesting and fun. I thought, you know what? Authors have no idea what is involved in the writing journey. What if I could copy what games do, right? And create like an entire map. Okay, it's not entire because being an author could be like an absolutely massive thing. What if I could give people an indication, right? A hint of where their journey, their adventure as an author could go. And so that's what this is. I'll point in the direction. That's what this is. This is like your author writing journey. Okay. What you can do is start it. You'll take a quick quiz. I'll show you. So you go here and decide which of these paths you are on. Because when you pick one, it'll then only show you the sort of level of the adventuring that you might start out on. And so you might upload, your own picture and your own name to sort of personalize it. And then you start punching through your badges. So like, "Cool, I have learned to start writing down my ideas," right? If you're a complete beginner, and then you claim this badge. Once you've done that, you can then export that as an image. There you go. That's what it'll look like. And then you can download that maybe and then share that with friends and family or something. The idea is that you would then go through and just sort of fill it all in. Now, there's supposed to be, let's see if I can remember where I put it on my own page here. If you go here, oh, the first time, is it here? Here we go. First time that you load this, you get this nice little quiz. So, for example, if this is you and you're landing here, you might go, "What are you building towards?" I don't know, I want to grow an audience. That's what I want to do. And I want to write for the love of it. Let's do that one. How far along is your writing? Yes, I have finished a novel. And then where can readers find you? I've got an email list, I've got a bio, I've got a real audience with hundreds of people listening, maybe. And I have sold my books to readers. And then it shows the map. So if I uncheck the craft, you can now see, look at all the progress that you've made right across this map. Um, you can then zoom in and scroll on and look at, okay, what's next on the journey that I would normally do? Oh, well, I've got a frequent habit. Well, what if I were to more intentionally structure my session so that I don't get lost? And then what if I, after that, were to start tracking a little bit how each session went, and what I thought and what I felt and what was going on around it to start building a sense of what I should be paying attention to do it even better, right? So you can poke around in this, have a look at it, maybe see how far along you are in your writing journey. Like I said, it's not exhaustive, it won't cover everything, but if you're a beginner, it'll give you a good idea of what to do next, what to think about, and where to go. So you go, light up the path, light up the badges you've already earned, and see what's new. I think it's just fun, and I think it can create a fun sense of self accomplishment. I had one member of the community instantly get in there, and she's still younger than a bunch of the rest of the members, and she's like, "Oh, I didn't know, I didn't realize how far along I was," because especially if you're doing, this one here, right, which is like the hobby storyteller. If you're just doing that one, most of us haven't even begun doing anything. Like, you've got an idea, great. Well, did you write it down in any way at all? And a bunch of those have never done it. And they're still thinking, I want to write a novel one day. Well, okay, that's what this sort of adventure line does is start with all the really simple little sort of baby steps and know exactly what to do. And then you might actually start getting things done. All right, if that's fun, check it out. Go to legendfiction.com, hit the freebies, scroll down, and have a look. Okay, we have our first guest. I'm going to bring in Declan. Hello, Declan. How are you? Welcome back. Hold on. I'm not sure. I don't yet hear you. Testing, testing. Nope, I still don't hear you. Maybe hit the refresh. Come right back in. Sometimes sitting in the lobby for over 30 seconds does something funny. And there he is. We'll bring him back in. Testing, testing. Any difference? Unfortunately, I don't yet hear you. That's annoying. That's a cool watch, by the way. Nope, I still don't hear anything. Nope, nope, nothing yet. If you need to pick a different microphone, you'll probably have to refresh, select that, and then come back in. And we'll thanks for waiting, friends. I'll probably just trim this out afterwards, obviously. Hopefully we can get a good conversation with him. He's hitting that refresh, picking the right microphone, and coming back in. Let's see how he's doing. Looks like we have a couple of friends in the chat who are watching live. Hello, nice to see you. We're just waiting for Declan to pick his microphone and jump back in on the live stream. But if you're there, say hi. Where you are at in the country? I'm in Virginia. Welcome to the Legend Charades podcast. That's right, Vic. Legend Charades. Come on, Declan. You've got this. We believe in you. I think he just wrote a new book, too. Hold on, I should go double check that. What is the new book that he's written? I thought I remembered the name and I've forgotten it. Let's go have a look. No, he's still not asked to come back in. And he hasn't called. All right. I'm going to put up my nifty little doohickey and I will be right back. Oh, nope. Still didn't ask to come back in. All right. I will be right back here. Okay, let's give it another try. Welcome back in, Declan.
Can you hear me now?
I do.
Hallelujah.
I got it. Hallelujah. Now I am getting a bit of getting audio feedback.
I don't know how.
Thanks for sticking with it. Okay, there's an... Yeah, it's getting pretty rough. No.
I swear this thing worked the other day.
Gremlins. There's an echo cancellation option. You'll probably have to refresh, hit that, and come right back in, and that'll stop my voice being picked up.
I'm not even sure how your voice is being picked up, but alright, let me refresh again.
Cheers. Thank you. Hey for Joe Dad Jokes up in Massachusetts. Good to have you with us. Hey Vic in Louisiana. That is so fun. So you met somebody at the Legend Haven Con who's also in Louisiana. That is so cool. That's not oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Chris Ackery, I think, right? I think I remember a photograph of you two meeting. It is absolutely the funnest thing ever to see members of the community connecting up with each other from around the country. All right. I think we've got Declan back in here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Awesome. Think I can hear you too. Things seem to be okay.
Well, at least we're not wasting the entire half hour.
Good to see you again. Gosh, it's been what, 6 months or something, I think, since we last talked. And
At
then,
least.
Yeah, you have. Well, I've got this nifty little bio. I'm going to throw it out there for those who have never heard of Declan. Let me pull it up here. Okay. So, prolific author of Catholic-infused urban fantasy, horror thrillers, and sci-fi. You've written over 40 novels, 3-time Dragon Award nominee, or no, finalist. Man, my audio is just looping right back in. So, you are hearing me in your headphones, yes?
Yes, I am.
And if you, just to be really annoying to ask, if you take off the headphones, do you still hear me? So, testing and talking and testing and talking.
Huh.
Okay, so it's duplicating, it sounds like, through another set of speakers.
Hold on. I don't remember turning on. I don't even remember plugging in my current set of speakers. That is a, hold on. I did not plug in my current set of speakers because there is a set of speakers in this new screen.
Ah,
Therefore,
that'll throw you, getting something new in.
mm-hmm. All right. Audio. Ah. Don't you just love Windows 11? How you type in something for your computer and it just goes straight to the internet?
And it tries to pull up in Microsoft Edge.
Uh huh.
Yeah, I had to go through and disable like every microphone I'm not using that it thinks I might find helpful, and then all the ghosts of all the other speakers.
Of course it is. Hold on. Gotcha. There. All right, how's that?
Yeah, it sounds okay. You sound good.
No,
I don't hear
hold on.
myself.
Now I've muted you entirely.
Oh, no.
Wonderful.
Joe in the chat says, can we turn this into an object lesson on the importance of editing to remove redundancies in our writing? 100%, Joe. Life happens.
Repeatedly. Hey, I thought the biggest problem with the audio was going to be the idiots across the street doing their lawn at full volume. Just like, hold on. One more time. And
Testing, testing. Doing the talking thing. Fortunately, I don't hear you now at all. Do you hear me? I don't hear you. Okay, good. You can hear me. I don't hear you, though.
you can't hear me now.
Ah, now I do hear you. My voice is looping.
There's still the feedback. Of course. This is such a... I don't want help from the web, you piece of garbage.
Now, I'm not sure exactly what's happened, but when I hear your voice, it's not as good as it sounded earlier. It's like something else is either maybe interfering, or I don't know. When you first joined on, your audio, what I heard from you sounded great. I don't hear myself now.
Okay, well, I turned down the audio entirely on the overall computer.
Okay.
So I can barely... so you can't hear you, but I can barely hear you. So, not a solution. You know, I was on an interview 2 days ago, and this worked perfectly fine.
We got a question in the chat. Can you unplug the external speakers at all? Are they in the...
Unfortunately, they're not external speakers. These are
they're
plugged
inside.
into the monitor.
Yeah. You
So
know,
if I could
something
unplug
that
the
I do
external speakers, I wouldn't see you at all.
Yeah. So something that I've done is I'll go to my sound settings and then open up more sound settings and then just straight up disable the speaker I don't want picking up anything or emitting anything. Joe said the podcast host to the writer guest, do you hear what I say? Honestly, half the time this sounds like we're trying to figure out a seance, right? Can you hear me? Oh no, I hear myself. Like, who's crazy here?
We're
Now, I don't yet hear you. It may take a second, or you might need to refresh. I'm not sure yet. And I still don't hear you. Do you hear me? Now, if you change the audio, you might have to just refresh, come right back in for it to hook you up properly. Kind of you to stick with it, Declan.
Can you hear me now?
Nope, I don't hear you yet.
No, you can't. And I can't hear
Looks like a
you.
souped up microphone, though.
Motherfucker.
Yeah, the webcam flashing. I know. I was going to consider addressing that one next. He can only do so much, or he's at a rave. Yeah, yeah. Well, fun to hang out with you guys and trouble check. Not what we expected from a Legend Fiction live stream. I mean, who are we kidding? It's just people trying to figure out tech and have fun, try to talk together. Stuff's going to happen. It's usually why we'll do these live and then clip them out afterwards. It's now 11:11. Oh, for those who know, that could mean something special. We don't know. Let's see. We still do have Karina at 11:30. Hopefully we can still get a nice 20-minute conversation with Declan. Unfortunately, no, I don't hear you. So tell you what, Declan, we can either keep duking this out, and I'm game to do that, or what we can do is I'm happy to schedule like a special time afterwards and we can just, figure this out together and, I think that'd be perfectly fine. Okay, and he is gone. So thank you, Declan, for giving it a try. Real trooper. I have about 12, it's 11, 12, maybe 15 minutes or so for before Karina can join. So I will try to get Declan back on at a future time. Maybe I'll do a private recording with him and then just release that. So he was great. He's been a fantastic kind of guest and supporter of the show and what we're doing. Alrighty, let me go over to something that I've been working on over on the blog, and what we're going to do is just have a chat through that. So while we are burning daylight, waiting for our good friend Karina to join. If you've not met Karina, she's fantastic. She's a comedian, and she writes like she's also incredibly prolific. So it's very, very cool to be able to chat with her. She's also moving, so we might have a twofer for somebody who's um, coming back. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully it's well. Otherwise, today was just fun to hang out. If you got any questions in the chat that you want to drop in there, I am absolutely happy to answer them and we can just talk about like whatever. What are you working on? Are you writing anything interesting? Because I'll tell you what, this is one of the things I love about Legend Fiction. And I'm trying to get to a point where we're putting out like a new anthology every month. We're publishing a new anthology every month. That's kind of my dream because I'm trying to get it to a point where we're publishing two. And what that means, it creates the opportunity for an author to not only have multiple opportunities to write, but also to be able to get published. And when you get published in a Legend Fiction anthology, you get publicly credited on Amazon. You also get revenue or royalty shares like forever for that book. And as of right now, part of our arrangement, the way that we sort of pay it forward to you as authors is Legend Fiction and myself don't take anything. We don't get any royalties from the sale of these books. It all goes 100% to you, the authors. So here's the latest book that we just put out, Grim Winter. It was really fun. We actually launched this way back in, 6 months ago, way back in actual wintertime. And we thought this would be really fun. And then the person who inspired it wasn't able to, he had to like completely step away because of a family issue. And we decided, okay, we're going to try to wait a little bit. And went to the authors, were kind of sad. And then after about 6 months, I was like, I'm never doing this again. We are going to finish an anthology. It's going to have a deadline and it's going to get done as promised. And we're not going to leave people hanging ever again. So it's finally done. Grim Winter. It is now out. We have 10 dark fantasy stories. We actually have 11 because I've got a bonus story of myself that I've put in there. So you can head over to legendfiction.com. I'll just go back to the website and show you where you can get it. If we go here to the website, right, you go to books, Let's share this tab here. If you go here to books, and there you'll see you can hit that, and that'll take you right to Amazon. And of course, here are all the books that we have published so far. And we've also done. So Grimwinter is very fun. And all of the income from that goes to support these authors. We also have ebooks, all right, that we've created. These are like free gifts for anybody to enjoy. If you want to get a sense of what it's like, or the different kinds of authors that are in our community, every quarter we have a season. Every 3 months, it's a like a specific season. Right now, we're in the season of the Tree Warden, as we call it, um, and then we have a flash fiction challenge, and then I take about 10 of the best stories and put them together into a little ebook. Flash fiction challenges are about um, 500 to 1,500 words. For this one here, we allowed people to go up to about 2,000, but we're going to keep it between 500 to 1,500 words for a flash fiction challenge. What we do is we set a deadline. You got to finish the story within only 3 days, and nobody knows what the kickoff word is until I drop it on the first of those 3 deadline days. So that means nobody can get ahead, nobody can write ahead, and everybody's thinking about and working on their story, and nobody knows, what the word is until it's actually time. So you can go to the website right now, and you can hit Glimmerwood. This is the book that they just finished writing, and everybody had fun with. You can download an EPUB and shoot it over to your Kindle if you want to do that, or you can simply read it right now, right? And I can make that a little smaller, for example. We got the foreword, and you can see all of the stories that are in here. There are 8. 8 stories from myself and other members of our community. And then if you hit about the authors, you can see their bios, and you can hit the links to go visit their website. So those are fun. These books are fun. Okay, Joe actually has a question in here regarding unique voices. I'm really curious about the thoughts about writing accents to help create voices. Is it annoying to readers or possibly even offensive? Ooh, what a great question. Let me show that one on stream. Okay, that's a really interesting question, right? Because I'm thinking of the early Tom Sawyer books where you literally can't read them unless you almost say it out loud, every single line in your head to make sure you understand. I'm not sure what Gabby would say. I'd probably have to throw this by her at some point. Um, what do you think? Go ahead and please tell us what you think about, what your answer would be to that question. Here would be my answer. It depends on how thick and how heavy it is. Because you got maybe 2 levels of like annoying. One would be, can I actually even read this? And for me as a kid with Tom Sawyer, I couldn't even read the thing because it was so strong and trying to be so accurate. I think there's a good middle ground where you can create some uniqueness with your voice, where you're doing some of it or enough of it. Well, again, everything is relative. You can do some of it as long as it is clear and most people can read it. Hmm. I think that would have to be like the baseline rule. Like whatever you do, it's got to be baseline readable for the majority of people approaching your book. Now, is it annoying to readers? Major thing to the answer to that kind of question is always going to be, who are your readers? How well do you know them? Um, because if it's a pretty defined group, uh, they're going to understand the kind of accent you're talking about or the kind of accent that you're using. So you're in a pact, you're in a relationship with that kind of audience. And that's why it can be a really freeing thing to actually write for them and for what they think and how they talk. You can be more honest and more authentic or accurate. Whereas if you're taking straight up how Gen Z talks and you're putting that in a boomer book, if you do it to just straight up irritate um, boomer readers, they're they're going to get irritated. So a bit of a trade-off. You're going to lose them. Don't you may then have the characters react to the fact that I can't understand you. You could even hang what's called hang a lantern on it. If something is actually real and realistic, you then just make other characters react to that or struggle with it in the same way that you, the reader, can. So again, if you're writing a book that's trying to be more historical or more historically accurate, yeah, then go for it. But this is my opinion, and I'd be interested if you come up with different research that says something. Um, find the baseline of what you can do with an accent that still keeps something easily readable. If at any point as a reader, you're having to slow down and struggle to understand. And beta readers will tell you this. Um, Friends or family or something who are also reading this can tell you this. If at any point you're struggling or slowing down, that's going to break the immersion. Um, Victor's got a little good comment here. I'll limit it to your or saying sorts of voices. If it's a thick accent, I'll describe it as he spoke in a thick Irish accent. Honestly, that's a very smart way to go. Um, Largely because you can, what you don't want to do is lose the reader. And the job of an author is to clearly communicate the ideas. Now, if you're reading something, I think of an example like this is Redwall, right? You've got the moles in there talking in a very thick accent. I don't know what it exactly is. It could be some sort of Cockney or Welsh or something. It's opaque, like it's impenetrable. You can't really understand what they're saying unless you literally say it out loud as it's intended. If you're already familiar with that, then it kind of rolls together and it's fun to read and it's very unique. For most of the rest of us, you have no idea what they're saying. I think it's partly done for comic effect. Um, so Joe says, I come at writing as a dungeon master from D&D, so I'm used to just giving voices and accents to characters, but it's harder to do in text. It's true. You can accomplish so much more when something is spoken. So also, it's a fantasy world, so I can't say in a heavy French accent because France doesn't exist. That's true. That's where you might a recommendation. Somebody threw Yoda up earlier. Yoda basically speaks in a conventional, English, but the sentence structure is slightly inverted, and that can be a helpful or interesting way to go about it. Instead of dropping letters, deforming things, um, you can just rearrange very slightly how things are how the sentences are structured. Victor says, I've never had a note from a beta reader saying, you really need to make the accent more authentic. It's true. You can't read it. It's hard to read. If you're at a point where you're having to say everything out loud to understand what somebody's saying, that's tough. All right. I'm going to go back over to the blog. So, quick little update on some of the things that we've been working on. So, one, yes, we finished Grimwinter, and I'll share a public announcement of the Glimmerwood book. Let me share with you also what we're doing inside our community. We got a couple of open calls right now. So, Flower Spell is our latest open call where we're asking for authors to create short stories that are we've just done Grimwinter. We're now leaning over into we want things that are brighter and it's like the emergence of spring and it is magical and it's still got an edge to it, right? Because the bringing about spring with the magic and the mushrooms and the sunlight and the dew and all that's beautiful and lovely, but wonderful magical work isn't always easy or safe. There can also be secret labor, ancient bargains, dangerous rites, and unexpected sacrifices required to bring spring into the world and make the world bright and beautiful. So you can have a look at this. And what you do is you read through, I'll show you again. You read through the open call. Here's our description of what we're looking for. We've created a deadline event. You can go right here and you can RSVP to it to get reminders or to just put it on your calendar. We've got some creative constraints, things that we are looking for. Target audience is identified. So this isn't for children. Story type, hard rules, which is pretty standard for almost all of our story. We want one main character, one point of view, no head hopping. Make it a standalone story. So don't give me an excerpt of a bigger chapter that you're creating. Don't save the world. You can save your world. Don't save the world. And your character cannot be the most powerful person in the room because that just completely eliminates the meaning of obstacles. And then how stories win. We pretty much state this, every single time. We do want excellence. That's what we're looking for. I will provide personalized feedback leading up to the deadline. After the deadline, any story submitted right at the deadline just stands or falls on its own merits. I always, of course, want to see clear attention to the rules and theme. It's kind of silly that stuff has to be said, but sometimes it just needs to be said. We do want fast-paced stories. We want to keep things in motion. State the challenge as early as possible, and this is just good storytelling hygiene. First, my recommendation or my own personal thing is like in the first or second paragraph, We're straight up saying who the character is, what kind of world we're in, what is the major problem or the obstacle. That's just right up in there so you immediately know where this is going, what the point of it is, what the vibe of it is. We want to weave in this story a sense of wonder around the central obstacle to the protagonist. Start in the middle of the problem. Don't start at the beginning of their day before everything has started, and then end as soon as possible. No slow winding down sort of thing. Stories that meander in delightful prose and description may not qualify, which is a trap that we fall into. I'm being an author, I'm writing beautiful stuff. And Vic says, is the world of these anthologies a singular world? Meaning, do you need to know the lore of the world to make it fit? Does it have to match? So, not all of them. No. We do have some. Um, we do have some anthologies that are set in a coherent world, and it's the world of Legend Haven. So we so far have two anthologies published in that world. I am actively working on two more. Uh, One is announced and one I'm still planning, and we're sort of building up this shared lore. Most of the rest of these anthologies are not inside that. Each one is just it's your own world. It's just united by a common theme. So here's the open call. We've got a standard link, how anthologies work, your copyrights and your terms. We think that we've created one of the nicest and most generous situations for this sort of thing. Um, and then what you get is if you do get published, it's going to be available for sale online through sites like Amazon as well. You're going to get a share of the profits and an exclusive badge added to your profile. You can then submit your story. Everybody just shares as a blog or a note or a post right in here the story that you've written. You can see here a draft so far of what I would like the cover to look like. I think it's looking pretty cool. You can see people's ideas for stories they're posting on the side. Again, there's the deadline. That's going to remind you of when it is, and then it's going to be added to the calendar. You'll get a little notification. It'll show up as like pulsing or active when it's the actual day. And then finally, you can see who are the members who are planning to be a part of this open call. Okay, we'll go back over to here. So in voting for stories, well, actually go back to open call. The other one that is live right now is also Fell Semester. So think of Hogwarts, but as a survivalist sort of thing. We want drama. We want super dangerous. It's like kind of grim. It's like school is in session. Will you survive? That's kind of the theme. We're looking for 10 stories on that vibe. So you can jump in here and you can have a look. Again, we've got trying to describe the open call. We got some creative constraints, specific kinds of characters we are interested in. As a way to help you get focused and pick your idea faster. And then the rest of it all is pretty similar. You can then submit your story. I know that we've got at least two in here. I went and drafted one that was very, very fun. I've created an event that is the deadline, October 31st, and then members. And the goal is we're looking for 10 stories by October 31st. So it's a fun, we think it is the funnest way to get stories just keep you in the mode of writing and also to keep you publishing. And then lastly, what we've created is a space here called Vote for Stories, where you get to throw your vote behind the next anthology that you want created. So, for example, here's the next Legend Haven um, uh, anthology that I want to get created, which is like a piratical, wild sort of Caribbean world. I think that's going to be it's going to be so fun. We've got some initial authors who want to get in on that. So what you do is you jump in there, you drop a comment, hey, I vote, I want to create a story for that. And then once I get 10 of those, then I'll put a deadline, throw it up as an open call and as its own space so people can get to writing. And then within 30 days, it is done. It is either shipped or it is rescheduled or archived. So it creates a nice, neat deadline. For example, I thought, yay, it would be fun because we're in the middle of summer right now. What if we did a book called, I don't know, Dragons and Lightning Bugs? I thought that could be sort of funny. Midwest theme, right? I don't know where people would go with that. That could be sort of funny. Here's another idea. Like, oh, this could be fun. What if we did dragons and road trips, like cross country, and it's just crazy, because why wouldn't it be, So we'll throw ideas in there, and then other people will come up with ideas. For example, this came from one of our members named Kalaven. She came up with an idea. She dropped a picture in, and then we got 10 votes, and it turned into Flower Spell. So uh, as we have ideas, we drop them in here. You get to vote on them. The ones that most people are interested in get to become a new event. Now, let's see, we got maybe another minute or so. Nope, we don't. Karina is now with us. So let me stop sharing. And let's go back over to here and let's welcome in Karina. Hello, Karina. Can you hear me? Welcome to the show. Hello.
Oh, there you are.
Hi.
I was worried for a minute. Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Good to see you. And thanks for taking the time to join us. And you're in the middle of moving. We can see the empty bookshelves behind you.
Yep, and the
How are you
movers are
holding
coming
up?
any minute.
How are you holding up?
Better now. Better
Yeah.
now. We've got the house. We've got a showing for this house tomorrow and another one on Wednesday. So that's looking
Nice.
up.
Can I ask where you're moving to? Is it a different state or?
We're just moving south about an hour away.
Okay.
Yeah, mostly we're just downsizing.
Downsizing?
So,
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
Yep.
Well, that's good. While you're with us then, I'm glad that we were able to make it work because it's crazy and exhausting moving. Like my wife and I, we have moved like every 2 years. I'm so done with this.
We thought this was going to be our forever home, but
Oh.
my husband left his job earlier than expected, and so.
Got it. Wow. Well, what's new with you, Karina? I mean, you'd never stop. Like, I don't even know like what you're up to half the time. Like, you do comedy. You're writing your own novels. You're involved with the Catholic Writers Guild. Or you're still the president, right?
I am.
So,
I'm still the president.
yep.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, what are you not doing? So what are some of the big things that you're focusing on right now?
Okay, let's see. Well, in addition to the move, I took a job as a game writer for Cruiser Ultiverse. So
What does a game writer do?
I write the story and the dialogue and the plot and the whole 9 yards for a new game called Squad Legacy.
Okay.
It's coming out in October is the planned date, and basically I'm writing the scripts and writing the story bible and coming up with all the characters and the dialogue and the world building and.
Wow. Is this like a 3D game or something, or
It is
D&D?
actually augmented reality. It is
Okay.
an MMORPG in augmented reality. So
wow. Is there a website? Can we go look at it?
You can. It's called squadlegacy.com. However, I'm going to warn you right now. This is something they threw up when the idea was very new and fresh, and before I got a hold of it.
Mm-hmm.
So the story has altered somewhat, and the art. Please do not judge this game based on the art on the website. They kind of put in just some placeholder AI stuff. The artists that we have working now are amazing. I'm so excited because I can send them a character, and we just this morning. I have to work India time now, so I'm working 3 a.m. to 8 a.m. and then doing house until 9 or 10 at night, and then getting up at 3.
Well, that's gonna trash your focus, your energy levels.
Actually, the game is so much fun that it hasn't been that bad. So, but I was just talking with one of the artists today. We were discussing a merchant character, and it was just it's so great to work with someone who is so brilliant and so visually oriented, because I'm not. I can sort of tell you what something looks like, but my writing is very much what you feel. It's emotional, it's verbal, it's gut. And so when somebody asks me, well, what's your character look like? I'm like, well, he's tall.
Yeah.
But to see them take my ideas and my personality and put them to life is just a great joy. And there's another writer that I work with, Akbar, and he's in the UAE. And we had a discussion today about one of the conflicts in the second level based on, I can't tell you too much because I'm still under an NDA, but
Sure.
based on the main character and his overall motivations, or I had written something that I have to admit, I was like, I know we need this, but, and I think it works, but he came out back and he was like, I think we need to tweak this. And we talked a little bit and came up with a situation that is just so much stronger. And it's been great to have a collaborator that I can work with on that level, and he and I we click off of each other.
Nice.
So
Oh, that's
it's been
fantastic.
very exciting. So that's my really big thing,
Wow.
which it's kind of hilarious because I don't play games.
So I was going to ask, what is different
I'm
about
so old.
what is different about writing a game or the narrative or the lore for a game versus
Oh,
how you structure a novel?
it is very different.
Yeah.
One, you really have to think about all of those visual aspects. You have to think about every possible decision. Remember back when, at least when I was a kid, they had these novels that you could choose your own adventure.
Choose your own adventure. I love
Yes.
those.
I'm basically having to write a choose your own adventure. So like every time something comes up, I have to stop and think, what if the player doesn't cooperate with me? And so then I have to decide, am I going to push them back on the track I need them to go? Am I going to give them room to do something else? Am I going to punish them for not, punishment, give them consequences for not following a particular storyline? Or am I going to reward them in some way? So, so there's a lot of
moving parts.
frazzled thinking.
Yeah. Wow. How do you stay organized with that? Kind of
the story Bible is immense.
Wow. What are you tracking in a story Bible?
I constantly go back and look things up. So, yeah.
Wow. We got a comment in the chat. Sorry, go ahead.
Even then, like just yesterday when I was discussing one of the characters with an artist, we talked about it. He came up with ideas. I went back to the story Bible and I was like, oh, I forgot about this about his eyes. We have to put about his eyes because that's like vital. That's important to the whole identity of the character. And I clean forgot about it because I've been working on like 50
everything else,
characters and weapon systems and everything else. And unfortunately, like I said, we've got a terrific artist team. I've got a great writer who does play a ton of games, and our dev team as well. So I can go to them and go, okay, this is kind of what I want the weapon to be like and to do. Could you just make stats for that? And then they fill that in. And there's a lot of time talking to Claude and Gemini. And
I was going to ask, is any of that helpful?
Too.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, it's very interesting coming from the background I have, where so many of the people that I hang out with are very much anti-AI for anything. It's disingenuous, it's cheating, it's denying the human condition, all of that. And then I get in here with all of these young devs and even the artists and everything, and they're like, why don't you run that through AI and then I'll take it from there. And so my daughter is very mad at me because she had originally wanted to be a concept artist, and I told her I was working with all these concept artists, and I said, so, I'm telling them a little bit what I want, and then I'll toss it into AI, and then I'll throw it to the concept artist, and she's just looking at me going, that's what the concept artist does. She's like, they're doing it. You just took their job away. And I'm like, well, these concept artists are adapting with the times. They're taking this thing that I kind of threw in to AI, and I'll give you essentially the well-developed chicken scratching.
Yeah, yeah.
And then they take it and make it into something amazing. And so, yeah, so it's been very interesting to
No kidding. I
to
want to come
use
back
that,
and
and
ask
it's
more about that with AI, because I
yeah.
think you are also perhaps pulling together an event around AI or something like this. But we have two comments in the chat that I want to throw by
Oh
you.
yeah.
One is let's see, where is it? Victor asks, how long is the process going to be? As far as your lore building or working with this game, does it end with the publication of the game, or is there ongoing lore creation?
Oh, it's going to be ongoing. I I am only writing level 2 right now, and the story Bible I think is about 20 sections long, because you have to have
Wow.
the weapons and the loot and the characters and the locations and the monsters. And I haven't even gotten past just like the little main area. I mean, there's such a world out there. And I'm standing on the shoulders of Brits because somebody else had come in and started all of this. And then they said, you know what, we need a real writer, which is why they hired me, even though I'm not a gamer. They said, well, but we've seen, like they saw my book on world building. And they saw that I have published 60 novels in sci-fi and fantasy. And they approached me. I didn't even apply for this job. They just found me on LinkedIn
Oh,
and
how
said,
cool.
hey, we need somebody who understands story, who understands building a world, who understands dialogue. And I was like, I don't play. And they're like, that's not what we need. We need story. And so that's what I get to provide. And like I said, I have a fantastic team that I work with
That's amazing.
that provides the other stuff. As far as how long, like I said, we're supposed to get the first bit out by October. I think that's probably more beta testing. And it will continue to grow. We keep spitballing all these really fun ideas, and I'm just like, we need a team. We need more people, which means we're going to need people to play first.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Got
so
another,
that's been my big.
got another question here from Vic. Is game lore development a niche that writers should look into? How does one get into that sphere? And then technically you just answered that.
I'm
They
so
applied to you.
sorry. I can't even help you with that because I just surely lucked in.
Yeah. So
I
as you're in this
honestly, it's a God thing.
as you're in this process of working through all of this, you've written what you said, 60 books, 60 novels. As you're going through all of this process, is it opening any new doors or ideas in your mind about how to do anything different about the writing or just the novel creating process?
I think when I have time to stop and ruminate on it, it will. But right now, I'm very much throw my head into the game, throw my head into the novel I'm finishing, throw my head into the house. Where I have a little headspace left, it goes into the guild, and then it starts over again.
Yeah.
So I did just finish my next novel in the Zach Guston series. It's called Escape to Enceladus. And that one is a middle grade sci-fi. And it's a middle grade Catholic sci-fi. So the challenge is to teach a virtue and teach science and have an exciting adventure. So
how do you do that? Like you say, to teach a virtue. What does that mean in the context of epic science fiction adventure?
Every adventure, it's kind of just thinking more thematic. So, for example, the one that's coming out again in October, lots of things happening for me in October, is Zach Guston in Stowaway to Saturn. And the virtue that we're teaching there is perseverance. And so he comes across challenges where he has to persevere at something, even though he doesn't want to, in order to be able to get out of whatever trouble or to succeed. And we look at how that affects different things. Sometimes it's persevering in his work. Sometimes it's persevering in doing something that is frightening. Sometimes it's persevering in prayer. Um, he's actually on a ship that he stows away on this ship that turns out to be a slave ship, and he didn't know. And so the captain thought it was funny and treats him like a wiper, which is an engineering assistant that basically does all of the grunt work. So there's one guy who's actually undercover who kind of adopts him and is also Catholic and is teaching him the virtue of perseverance. And so he's reminding him to persevere in his work. And then when he's really, really tired, since Zach's an orphan, he asks him, well, have you been praying? You know, perseverance isn't just for getting your job done. You have to persevere in prayer. You have to persevere in remembering your parents. You have to persevere in speaking to God, all of that kind of stuff. So that comes in there. And then the science facts, in that case, I'm teaching Newton's laws. And which is super easy to teach when you're in space, because zero gravity, reaction is equal and opposite reaction kind of thing.
Just to help me understand, the target audience for this book, is this a YA
middle
or
grade,
middle grade? Okay.
Catholic.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. So
That's
coming out from Pauline in October, and I'm really hoping to visit a bunch of Catholic schools and talk about it.
So I guess that means you don't have like a proof copy or anything yet.
Not yet.
No.
Not
okay.
yet. So.
Okay. Oh wow.
Yeah, and like I said, I just finished the other one. Actually, sent it off to a couple of scientists.
Enceladus.
Enceladus, yeah, which is the ice moon around Saturn that shoots jets of water off out of the southern and northern poles. So.
Okay. Wow. Well, that just sounds fun. I do want to ask you about something that you have or you've been working on, which was, let me go back to my notes here. There we go. How to finish a novel you keep abandoning. I do want to come back to that, right?
Oh, yes.
Before we get to that, I do want to come back and ask, you just described how you're in a unique position of straddling this work that you're doing and getting access to, well, you mentioned AI and concept artists and live teams, and then you're also working with or president of the Catholic Writers Guild, and there's a lot of anti-AI sentiment in there. And I'm trying to keep sort of, not one foot in both camps, but I'm trying to keep an awareness of like, what's the good thing to do here, blah, blah, blah. And then also watching things like what Hollywood are up to, or massive game systems, and they're training like 100,000 artists and creators on how to use these tools to build the next generation of creativity or something like this. And I don't exactly know how to make sense of it all. And
that's funny, because
how are you making sense of it all?
You're one of the first people that I think really adopted AI.
And it's true, but it's such a messy octopus of like cause and effect and, consequences. And, and I take a very, I won't say pro, as if I'm all in and it's all good. It's like, it's like anything. Hammer can be used for good and bad, but I'm very forward in that. I think there's AI forward. There's a lot of good, as whatever. We all hate slop, whether people create it or whether AI creates it. So it's a bit of a moot point, really. But how are you making sense of this and sort of engaging with this? Again, as a president, you and I are both not founders, but like the figureheads are at the top of these sort of brands, that these communities that we helm.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's kind of a tightrope because you have to respect some people's opinions. Whether they're all in for AI, and to be honest, nobody in the guild is all in for AI, because especially Pope Leo wrote about it. About the use of AI in creative functions, and he was very strongly that we cannot let it replace the inherent beauty and holiness of creation.
The creative process. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole creative process. I mean, we are made to be co-creators with
Mm.
Christ, and so we can't let a machine usurp that, especially one that it's derivative. Like you're going to be, if you use AI, you're using the adaptation of what it finds on the web, or in some cases, what it's
Everything that
acquired.
has come before. Yeah.
Yeah, it's everything that has come before. And also, though, one thing I noticed, and I'll talk about my nonfiction books in a minute, but one thing I noticed is that it will homogenize to the average of what it finds. And so if you ask it to write something, it's pulling from the internet, which is mostly marketing language.
Yeah.
Or
Or it's mostly Reddit and
yes,
YouTube
or
comments, which is
Reddit.
awful.
Yeah, and so and it will adopt that. And no matter how many times you tell it not to, it will go back to that lowest common denominator. Now, I have started a series of nonfiction books about the craft of writing.
Nice.
They're based on articles I've written, on seminars that I've given, that kind of thing. And I wasn't going to ever write these because I'd rather spend my time writing fiction and having fun. But when people really started talking about the AI process, I thought, you know what? I actually had a friend that she said, you're sitting on all of this knowledge. Why don't you just try it, plug it to AI and see if it comes up with something for you. So what I've done is I have gotten transcripts of all of my seminars, and I feed that and all of my articles that I've written and that kind of thing. And then I will go into ChatGPT or Copilot. I'm actually liking Microsoft's Copilot better for this now. And I'll say, hey, let's come up with a book outline. These are the kind of things that I want to do, and use my material.
Yeah.
So I'm the source material. And it'll come up with something. We'll chat back and forth, and then I'll say, hey, write the first chapter. If there's a hole that you think I should cover, then highlight it, give me some examples. Always tell me the source if you get something outside of my work. And it's actually been a lot of fun, and it's been very fast. Since the first one, I think I started in February, and I've done 5 so far. And I've done a lot more, except we've had 3 deaths in the family. Dog died. My husband left his job. We're moving.
Yeah.
I got a job. It's been
amazing.
It has
I'm doing the same sort of thing right now. Somebody challenged me to create a second brain, which is not something I ever thought about doing. But he's like, man, dude, your ADD is off the wall or whatever. You should have like a second brain and start organizing it all, because I've got multiple blogs and transcripts up the wazoo. And I thought, well, that could actually be really helpful to do exactly what you just described. So I've been working hard on that for the last month, just ingesting everything and having it study everything I've ever said or written, and start looking for like, what are things I haven't thought of yet? What are the non-obvious things inside everything I'm looking at, that might indicate new areas of research, or what are new books I should probably think about writing if I were to have the time, and just get you to think about, your own thoughts in a different way. I find it so incredibly helpful.
It is. I have gotten some blowback from it. I have a couple of people, even one of my best friends has just flat out said, I will never read these books. I can't believe that you have done this. You're betraying our kind. But then I have had other people that have been, this book has changed me. I'm writing now because I read this book, and it would never have happened if I hadn't said, you know what, I'm going to try it out. And I think that the key here, though, is that, like you're saying, it's a second brain. It's not your brain. You're not replacing your creative genius. You're not replacing your organizational know-how. You're not replacing your thoughts. You are basically hiring a secretary.
Yeah, you're partnering with a ghostwriter kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a
So,
good question in here from Joe. He says, the Pope has been fairly against AI, hasn't he? I'm not sure that that's true. I skimmed through his document, and I think it was more about caution,
I
about
agree.
complete outsourcing of self, as opposed to allowing it to be a tool that'll actually be helpful, because it serves and solves a need that has become ever more obvious as we get online and put everything online. And there's a lot of very valid reasons why we absolutely need these tools, or a cognitive amplifier. But especially when it
Yeah,
comes to creativity, I'm all in on don't replace yourself. Amplify and augment. Use it to eliminate tedium. What do you think? Go ahead.
I agree. I remember his encyclical came out after I'd written the first book, and I was like, oh man, am I going to have to go to confession now?
Yeah.
And I read it, and I was like, nowhere does he say that AI is verboten, that AI is forbidden. But he has said that, like with all sciences, AI has to be treated with caution. And because it is so cognitive based and also so able to manipulate emotions, funny story, when I was working the book, and I would say, I hate this idea, it would always come back, you're right, that's my bad, I really should change it and do this, that, and he's so nice. I finally had to tell
just put it in the rules.
Stop being a sycophant.
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
Like, you are annoying me. You're right, I am. I'm sorry.
Update your rules. Never use my first name. Never apologize. Just give me what I need.
That's right.
Blah, blah,
Quit
blah.
telling me how right I am and just make the darn change.
Those are, yeah. It's funny how so much of us will get hung up on these things that it's a prompt away from just like recognize that the companies that create these tools, what's an accurate way to say this? I don't know. A lot of these tools are created to be emotionally manipulative, because they know that if they can seduce you into ongoing use, they're going to make more money. Well, we don't have to necessarily buy into that. We can literally just prompt it to be a more helpful tool.
That's why certain items are certain colors, because they've been shown to cause a particular reaction. So,
and you could say the same thing about every algorithm, how Instagram works, how Facebook works, how YouTube works.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a matter of
that's
us
one
retaining.
Of the things that he was warning against is that it would be very easy, especially since it is imitating humanity. That it's very easy for us to fall into this is just like another person. So if I ask AI to write a book for me, it's just like I wrote it. And that's not the case.
It's not true. What I like about this whole situation with AI, it's doing something really interesting for the general conversation in humanity of what it means to be a human. Because we're coming out of an absolutely horrible century of very bad, no good philosophy that says humans don't matter at all. And then you create something with a competing seeming cognition. And then we're like, hold on, I know I matter. What does it actually mean to be human? And I think that's what the Holy Father is absolutely championing. Is it's not even a whatever. That's a whole conversation. Good stuff. We got a good little comment. I just want to throw in it very quickly. Joe asks, I worry about environmental impacts of data centers that run AI. Are we jumping to our own benefit without being stewards of the earth? Consider the sparrow. Quick little thought on my end on that. 3 things that I've seen already on this whole data center thing as a fast moving conversation. One, I saw that NVIDIA created a way to process massive data centers without using a single drop of water. So we've already perhaps even used AI to invent the solutions. That's one. 2, we've already, I saw somebody created a brand new model that allows you to process AI and eliminate data centers completely because you're just using geometry. And so you don't need to store massive amounts of data to try to remember everything, because if you just abstract it all into geometry, I'm not a mathematician. So there's already 2 working solutions that are out there, and you can imagine billionaires going, man, we can make more money by implementing either of these things and not make everybody hate us. And then of course the third thing is just put them all in space, which is what Elon is working on. And so there are very interesting solutions already in play to solve clear and present problems. And so
Yeah.
it's,
Well,
yeah.
and I liken it to the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
Every time somebody complains to me about, well, AI art is cheap and derivative and should not be used, and then I think, and we could have said the same thing about coffee cups.
That's what mass printed
or shirts.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they used to all be done by hand, sometimes with great love and great artistry, and there's still a place for that. But sometimes you just want something to put your coffee in.
Yeah.
And maybe even something a little fun to put your coffee in.
Mm-hmm.
So
are you still
going
working?
to be a process.
Yeah. Are you still working on that sort of summit or thing on AI? Is that still a project?
We have postponed it.
Okay. I would like to be involved. I was just too burned out at the
we
time.
would love to have you be involved. Yeah, we're looking now at doing it early in 2027. November was just coming up way too fast for some of us, especially considering everything that's going on.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've got our Christmas con. I need to pick your brain about our Christmas con on December 5th for a Legend Haven, and it's just literally meant to be a Christmas fair to help us authors sell books. So I need to pick your brain on that. Okay,
that would be great.
Let's spend the last, well, we're technically at time. If you have any more time, that was fast. I would love to hear about this how to finish a novel that you keep abandoning, and you've created this Write Boost series for writers, and maybe you already talked about it. That's what we just covered.
Yeah, so, the Write Boost series is the one that that I am writing with the help of AI, based on all of my notes and things. So what you're getting is me, okay?
Yeah, it's a structural assistant, just assembling.
Yeah, it is.
Stuff.
It's a structural assistant, and so, but the book that most would talk about that is the Persevere in Your Writing, and to come to the question specifically about the book that you keep abandoning, it really, there's a couple of things. One, you got to think about why is this being abandoned, because there are lots of reasons that you set a book aside.
And there might be a lot of good ones too.
Yeah, there are. I have one that I just finished last year that sat in the drawer for 30 years. Because when I wrote it, I was in a different space, and my characters wanted to be in a very different space. And to be honest, they weren't behaving very morally, and so I put them in a timeout. I was like, if you guys can tell this story without the misbehaving, I will write it.
Yeah.
And about a year and a half ago, I had an opportunity to talk to a friend that I greatly admire, who's an editor, and it was at a conference, and he said, if you submit some work, I can critique it. And I thought, I really want to do that. So I asked him how much, and he said 40 pages. And I was like, I don't have 40 pages of anything. So I went back to this book, which had been back and forth noodling because I loved the story. And I realized that suddenly I had the maturity and the writing chops to do it. And I'm shopping it around now. It's literary, and it's probably one of the best things I've ever written.
Wow.
So there is the time when it just needs to sit, and there's nothing wrong with letting it sit. Then there are the times when a book gets abandoned or refuses to write itself because it's touching something inside yourself you need to work on. And I've known many people that they hammer their head against the wall and against this book again and again and again and again. And when you talk to them about it, it's because there's an issue that they are trying to address and they're trying to work out. And the book wants them to do it, but they they can't because they need to work it out for themselves. So it's something to ask yourself, is this book trying to tell me to do internal work?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you can do that with the book, and sometimes you need to do it yourself and then come back. Another reason is because you're forcing the characters to do things they don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I had my favorite story. I was writing Live and Let Fly, which I'm actually rewriting to fit in the Vernverse again. But it was my second book that I wrote with my favorite character, Vern, the dragon detective. In the story, Vern and Sister Grace were not technically proficient, and they were being forced to bumble around where they couldn't really use magic and solve a mystery. And their plucky assistant would come in and get on the computer and hack it and solve things for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was cute and it was funny and it absolutely wouldn't work. And I stalled for months. I did every exercise anyone ever recommended to me until I finally sat down and said, okay, guys, what's the problem? And the problem was that Rhoda didn't want to be a plucky assistant. She didn't want to know how to use computers. She wanted to be the damsel in distress. She wanted a sequined gown and impossible high heel shoes. She wanted to get kidnapped and have her boyfriend rescue her.
Okay. Wow.
And I was like, are you out of your mind? But okay. And it was the best ever. It was so much fun. And then once I did that, the whole adventure fell into place. And later on, she rescues her boyfriend.
Amazing.
So she became plucky after she had her moment.
Yeah. Oh, that's so
So
funny.
sometimes,
If you're
yeah,
if you're not an
sometimes
author, people look at us and wonder, are you okay in there? You know, blink if you need help. Like, what are you talking about? Characters don't want to. I had a novel. I spent
you
like
cannot make it.
130,000 words on this one novel, and I got stuck trying to write the climax to it because I could not get my main character to. I couldn't understand her. Like I thought I did, and I wasn't. I was running her through, you know, profile, personality quizzes and so on because I wanted to create a predictable character that could do what I wanted her to do. And then it's like everything just shut up. Story wouldn't work. I couldn't get it to continue until I
Yep.
just basically dumped all of that, went back to the founding intuition of the character, and then I was able to write again. So it's just funny how they yeah, they argue with you. And this is another conversation at some point. Maybe I'd like to actually have this with you. Maybe you'd be the
Yeah.
fantastical person for it. What the heck are we doing when we sub-create characters? And where I'm going with this is you're partitioning a piece of your psyche and you're giving it a little bit of the life that you have. And that's a fascinating psychological and maybe theological thing to be doing, or anthropological thing to be doing. You know, why do we do that at all? I think that fiction is like a fractaling of the mystical experience of direct contact going up towards greater things. Well, fiction is a way to try to model that, sort of going down into something a little bit smaller. And if we think we can control that, it's like every author will tell you you've got another thing coming.
No.
Nope.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not to infuse a piece of yourself into something else. It's to explore what it would be like to be different.
Yeah.
So,
And there's rules to that, like to these personas, these personalities, and they don't want to be you, they want to be themselves. That's like a little
absolutely.
identity. It's just amazing how that happens. We can just intuit that instantly and just create like another little
Yeah.
person kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
And I have characters that I've invented that I love to write about, I love to read about. I would never want to be their friend.
Oh, really?
I'm like, no, you're too mean, you're too high maintenance, you are so snarky. I would just go hide in the corner.
Oh, that's funny. Well, thanks for the extra time. We gotta, I guess, wrap.
Oh,
I'll let you
yeah.
go. Where can folk find you online and where can they check out your Write Boost series?
Go to KarinaFabian.com for all of that. So, and the Right Boost series, by the way, has the 5 books and it has downloads of all of the seminars I've taught.
Amazing.
So,
That's fantastic. You know what I'm finding really fun that AI can help with is to create workbooks. And like you take a talk or take an idea or take a book, and I've done all of these things. I'm like, I never did the next thing of creating workbooks because I'm tired and that just sounds boring, but other people love them. Okay,
Yeah,
take my
yeah.
notes,
The
convert
AI
it
actually
into
with the right
nice,
boost,
nifty
the
tools.
AI, I've told it to do discussion questions and
Mhm,
exercises, and so and I'm no good at it because I hated doing those. Like
mhm,
even in college and stuff,
mhm.
I was like, "Ah, do I have to? I got the material, fine. But I've actually had a lot of people who have said, "Oh, I'm running through those exercises and they're so brilliant." I'm like, that's nice. That's
Well, I
probably one
hope
of the
your
places where
I hope your move goes well. Um,
thank you.
let me know what happens when if Enceladus, I think, gets published in October, and
No, Stowaway to Saturn is in
Saturn.
October.
Okay, okay. If you have the cover of that, if that's available online somewhere, I'd like to grab that and I'll use that for the thumbnail of your segment. I'll clip this out and
Not
share it
yet.
afterwards. No,
It's
no cover.
embargoed.
Okay.
No, I've been told I can't yet.
Oh, all right.
I'm like, ah! This is the problem when you're working with a publisher versus self-publishing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but
All
I'm
righty.
loving working with a publisher. It's been a great
That's
experience.
great. Oh, Karina, this has been
Yeah.
fantastic. Thank you so much for the time and for taking
Yeah,
a break
thank
with
you.
us. And I hope everything goes well.
Thanks, I appreciate it. It's been so far, so it's always an adventure.
Mm-hmm. God bless you.
Yeah.
Have an awesome rest of your
Bye.
day.
God bless, guys. Thanks.
Cheers. Friends, we're going to wrap up this conversation on this live stream, and it's after kind of lunchtime, so I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to share a brief little sort of closing message with you all, and then let it all go. So here we go. I haven't shared one of these yet. Enjoy this one. I think here's the problem that every author marketing course uh, probably has that you've ever bought, that I've ever bought. I think here's the problem that every author marketing course probably has that you've ever bought, that I've ever bought. One, by the time you finish it, the tools have changed. The algorithm has moved. Maybe the site is shut down. The tactic that worked in this particular module, it got patched 6 months ago. And so you're paying for the snapshot of a thing that doesn't hold anymore. It certainly doesn't hold still. So that's why I've created the Indie Author Marketing Mastermind. Okay. It isn't a course. We get together for about an hour a month, and then we share what we're actually doing, what's working, what isn't, what are the new sites we should be aware of, which are popping up all the time, what are collaboration opportunities, what are YouTube channels maybe that are happy to interview authors right now. I then take like everything I hear and I turn it into systems, maybe apps or templates or tools. I've been doing marketing full time for almost 25 years. That's the part I enjoy. So it's $20 a month. It's a 30-day free trial. You can cancel anytime. You can message me anytime. Love to hear from you. I'll see you on the inside.